Hi fam, it's Dylan's mum Deborah. This is Dyl Friends.
Oh my God, we've killed Michael Jordan's dad.
I won the first Brownlow. The problem with that was I wanted it again.
Hey Jared, delete the tweet.
No, we're not here to break news.
This is an exclusive.
It's so silly looking back on for me because I remember just feeling like I'm not needed.
I couldn't, in my wildest of dreams, imagine that we win the flag at the end of the year.
Damo's a lot funnier than people give him credit for.
Hugely funny.
But Andrew, a little message came across his phone and it was, give Job his Brownlow back.
Emma Murray,
Hello.
so good to see you.
Oh my God.
We've spoken about this a lot, but was the last time we saw each other?
Yeah.
live? Yeah, no, not good enough.
No. It was when we were in this room.
Yeah.
It had all the promise of a year that was going to look a particular way, and it didn't.
How crazy. I love catching up with you at this time. I would like to make them more regularly throughout the year, but like we were just talking off air before, like you were literally away basically for the whole year, like working Olympics. We were in Europe, India, doing literally everything.
Yeah. And then a chunk of time in Sydney with the Swans. So, it's still no excuse.
No.
That's like 4 or 5 months of the year. There's still
a few
plenty
more.
of others.
No, I know.
There's this thing I heard the other day that is so great. It was talking about friend administration, and it was saying that we're so busy right now that we spend our time catching up with people who are really important with us, and we catch up and it's like we just update each other. But we don't ever make new memories or experiences together. So we're constantly in like this administration phase of our friendship, just like doing this, hey, this is what's happening for me. But eventually we're not going to have any new stories because we're not having experiences or creating memories together.
That's why I love seeing you, man, because I was like literally, I was in Adelaide last week and I was chatting to a good friend of mine, Ned McHenry, who we just meet people, we're like, fuck, this is a good chat. Like we're on the same wavelength, and he listens to the show a lot too and like always gives me feedback. And he said to me, he goes, man, fuck, you tell the same stories a lot. And
right.
But it was good feedback. Like he was sort of joking, but in a same way.
Yeah.
He was sort of like recapping like all the things that I always say, like a cave diving story or this or that. And I was like, mate, it's so true. You know why? Because I'm not out there like doing new things and experiencing new stuff. And like that was a massive point for me towards the end of, I suppose, the reflection of this year. And we'll jump around a lot today, but there's been such a big, I've done a lot of work this year on like what lights me up and what my values are and where they're at. And I suppose, these things don't happen overnight, but I have realised like you have to actually go out and create these things to then actually have more things to talk about, not just be in that administrative phase that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like it's a real thing. I've never actually heard it be put like that.
Yeah.
But I realise you do need to go and do stuff because then you've got new journeys and new real things to talk about.
Yeah, we don't want to be laughing about the same things that we did in our 20s when we're, old. Well, I'm sort of there. But, anyway, that was a little side
No,
note
it's good.
that
We'll definitely...
we're definitely in administration mode because it's like we are down to a yearly review. We don't even have quarterly reviews, you and I now.
We will be. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Do you know what I did at the end of the year? And I'd done this sort of a little bit with my mate Ali, who I'll talk about later as well with some other stuff we're going to bring up. But he sort of has been really big on me of like at the end of each year or even at a quarterly time, you lock it in, you be consistent with it, and you reflect back through your camera roll.
Oh.
So like opening your photos and picking out, like almost making a photo, calling it 2024, 2025, like, whatever it is, and picking out the photos that you look back and go, oh, that was a moment. Like that was something that we actually did go and create and did something special. And through that, you'll actually find a massive trend of what those things are without even knowing it. And like for me, I experienced it this year, which is quite, I suppose, cliche when you put it like this, but like having a young family, going away with them, being near the beach, being near the ocean, being on the river, those things.
And what's the point of it? Just to say, hey, you like the water?
Well, the point is for then actually you can structure your next year being like, well, let's actually purposely create these moments. Don't wait for chance to be like, oh, she'll be going on holiday. It's like, well, these things get you through and light you up. So like how do you strategically put them throughout the year so it actually makes you more, you're actually putting it in your hands versus just waiting it for chance to find the moments.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
What would
right.
yours be?
I was
You'd have to go back
you
through
know,
your
as
phone.
you're talking, I'm like, oh, there was that time at India when, you know, the food was horrific and we were stuck in that athlete's village. Yeah, no, I didn't have a lot of those type of memories in 2024 that I necessarily want to recreate. Oh, gosh. You know, I just, as you're talking, I'm like, oh, there's just not enough on my camera roll.
But maybe you have to go back to 2023 or 2022 and work it. Like maybe
No,
that's the exercise.
I know. The
Yeah.
joke in my family is like this one photo of mum is like for the funeral booklet because we just don't. I'm not. Okay, like, let's pause. You're going to make me depressed. I need to do more.
Look,
yeah.
there you go. People out there listening though
I like
might
that.
be in that space
Yeah.
too. And I suppose like sometimes with these things, and we'll talk about a lot of stuff today. We'll jump into it, but like our ins and outs and our stop, start, keeps. And you were saying to me before, I don't know if you were just being really kind, but you're saying like I look younger.
Yes, I
Like-
feel like I'm sitting opposite a younger version of you. Now, I didn't know you when you
Yeah.
were younger, so someone that I've seen, you know, on the television screen playing amazing football. But yeah, you've had like a glow up or something.
I wouldn't say it's a glow up, but I would say it's definitely been an interesting year last year, I suppose, reflecting on it. And it's probably, you know, the start of this year and towards the end of last year, and this year was just around like those moments. And you said before about like sometimes there has to be a catalyst to actually like cause change in your life. And for me, you know, I've spoken about this to you privately, I suppose, but like a couple of years ago before I had Max, I had just some like real challenging time about just with like anxiety of becoming a parent, just all these other sort of things coming up. And that sort of kicked me into gear with a lot of things that I wanted to change. But it'd be funny when we sort of riff back on like what our goals were for last year, which we'll hear about soon, because I don't know what's coming, but I definitely don't think I committed to that enough. And
I can tell you hands down, I don't know exactly what you're going to play, but no, I don't know that I did one.
okay, should we get them on to play them now?
Yes.
So this is from last year's
I saw
episode.
Gwyneth Paltrow like reflecting on her year, sort
Yeah.
of like, and I thought, oh God, my ins and outs, they're going to be terrible. All right,
Let's see.
play it, Mon.
All right, yours first.
Oh, okay.
Teaching my kids useful shit.
Yeah, no.
Okay, I was listening. Useful skills. Sorry,
Yeah,
not useful.
love
shit.
it.
Like useful skills. I heard a throwaway line on a podcast where someone said, "Oh, and you know, my parents just bought me Levi's and all the cool stuff. They didn't actually teach me stuff, useful stuff." And then he went on talking about whatever he was talking about, and I had this moment where I was like, I haven't taught my kids useful skills. I don't think they know how to clean a toilet. This is my year.
So
By this time next year when we're on the podcast together, I'm going to say all my children know how to clean a toilet.
Yeah, okay. They don't. But I actually was talking about this to my mum this morning because my youngest, Gus, is overseas with snowboarding. And he went over with a family to Austria. And then he had to get from Austria to Denver to meet his father by himself. And you know, he got dropped to the airport by the family, but it's a big thing getting through an Austrian airport by yourself. So he's in year 8 going into year 9 and his attention is not great. And he got asked for a visa that he didn't have. And he said, oh, Mum, I had to stall them and I had to get through. And I was saying to Mum, you know, I've taught that kid nothing. Like, and I always beat myself up about it. And yes, Mon, I did not teach him how to clean a toilet. But I've taught him through abandonment. And that's okay.
I think you're being harsh on yourself there, because there's one thing that you've said to me that has actually stuck with me to this day, and even in the short 2 years that I've had my own kid, that has been one of the most instrumental bits of advice ever, was you can't shield your kids through pain or moments and stuff like that. So I think what you're trying to say, instead of abandonment is not the right word, but you're letting him work it out himself, because you're not going to be there to do that for them all the time.
Yeah, I guess why I say abandonment is it wasn't a conscious choice.
Yes.
Like, this is a great opportunity to let my son do it. It was like, that's the only way we can get him over there. And so what would be a more useful tool, cleaning the toilet or getting through an international airport? I reckon he's going to be grateful for his international airport skills. So that's a tip. Is that a, do I pass?
I think you passed.
It's a tip.
It's
I'd
a
rather
pass.
know how to get through the airport.
And, okay, here's another one. Like, I'm killing it. Neg,
Yes.
who is going into year 12, because of all my crazy travel this year, she went into the school boarding house. And I have just spent a couple of weeks down the coast in Lawn with Meg, and she is like living with a different person. The bathroom was clean. She took the rubbish out. She had awareness of her space. So again, I didn't teach her, but my abandonment going over on my travels put her in a situation where she has actually learnt those skills. I joke, but I do think as parents sometimes we feel the need to, that we want to do everything for our children because that's being a good parent, and we don't want to take that holiday with our friends because we can't leave our kids behind, and we'd be missing their school, running event, and we can't let them down for this. But this year did teach me that it's okay, and two, there's as many benefits of them having to be resourceful, and I don't mean be resourceful as in just find my way through an airport, but find other people that can step into my role, other people that can feel the role of mum and dad and mentor. And now they get this network of people and resources that is so much better for them than just having this mum and dad that are always the only people that are there for them.
Yeah, I love that.
I'm just trying to talk myself up. I just want to tick
seriously,
because I know the other stuff I didn't do.
I like it. Was there anything else for Emma?
I've got one for you.
I'll go on for me. Okay.
This one's a little bit longer.
Physically healthy. As I said earlier,
Yep.
I reckon the last couple years, business, mental fortitude, family have been massive focuses. One thing that I've really let myself down, and I won't say, look, you can only put energy into so many things, so you've got to forgive yourself and things, but I think my physical health has been something where I haven't had that to a standard where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And this year, getting back into the gym, moving my body, running, if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
And I'm getting to an age now where the metabolism is really slowed down. And I went to a wedding recently, and a few of my mates were like, no, it wasn't the suit, it was more around the pool. And it's just joking with mates, but it was also like, wow, this isn't where I used to be or where I am. And not even from that aspect, but I just want to feel strong. Wow.
Oh gosh, you've nailed
it. I'll preface by saying that has been the last 3 months.
Okay.
So I reckon December, January, February.
Tell me.
Well, again, after we did the show, I look back now and that's always been a thing for me, and always wanted to get back into physical condition and, work on family and friends. And I suppose it got to probably a moment for me this year where, again, stresses come in life with everything, with work, family, your own mental health, physical health, all those bits and pieces. And I just definitely did not have my foundations in place again, and probably had another setback, just in terms of some anxiety and some periods that I'm still, still working through at the moment. But it just was such a, we said before, something has to be the catalyst for you to actually change. And I think that the reason, maybe so many of those fitness things that I was trying to do before, I realized now I was doing them for the wrong reason. I was doing them to look good around the pool, or to, just feel maybe better about my physical appearance, where now what has happened with me and working out and running and these things, it has actually nothing to do with physically how I'm looking or feeling. It's all to do with improving my mental state.
Yeah.
And also knowing that if I can continue to work out and do hard things and push myself to do it and put myself first, and I know this sounds weird for a lot of parents out there, maybe even other people, before anything, I'll actually be better at then being a better dad, a better partner, a better business person, friend, all those bits and pieces. Because what I was doing was just putting all those other things at the top and then me last. And then I'd just be walking around at like 60%.
Yeah.
So this year, and I've already, you know, I'm really proud of myself just for the beginning that needs to maintain, but like I have to put myself first to actually be better for other people.
Do you feel comfortable sharing the actual catalyst? Like I know you just said I was a bit anxious.
Yeah, for sure. Like, so I suppose through, you know, I've always, you know, spoke to you about these things, but like I've probably never really spoke to like the lengths of it, but like around my anxieties, probably it can get into like an OCD form, around like a puro form, whereby just intrusive thoughts and.
Are you okay to talk about
Yeah. And it's something that like I'm still just like sort of, I've always known it's there, but like I never wanted to like give it the airtime that it is a thing, because I felt like it would keep feeding on certain stuff. But yeah, there's definitely points towards the end of the year, I think, just when things build up and I'm not looking after, like I'm not eating right, I'm not training or looking after my physical health, mental health, you know, all those things, like that's not going to stop anything from happening, but it's going to give me the best chance to deal with everything else.
Yeah.
And just to advise, and I suppose like that bit of a break, you know, a bit of a challenging period. I was like, no, this is the last time. Like I'm not saying it's never going to happen again.
Yeah.
But I'm going to give myself the best chance to be in the best position possible to be the best for people around me as well.
And has that calmed down with you investing in yourself more? Those
it's definitely
unhelpful sort of anxiety thoughts? Yeah,
I think so. Like it's definitely a challenge. Like you know, like all these things, it's definitely calming down. You know, it's still something that like it's something that I've probably just lived with forever, and it just peaks and troughs in certain times. And I suppose the last couple have been a bit more severe than before. But I think like, you know, the understanding it and just accepting it of what it is has been big. Like from last time we spoke to sort of now, like I understand it so much more. An example would be, for example, like people walk through, you know, the car and they'll see like a car coming down the street and you're like, oh, imagine if I just jumped in front of that car. And that's things that come through everyone's head. But I think in my loops, it just gets to the point where I'm like, fuck, why do I think that? Do I actually want to do that? And it's that's not an example, but there's just a heap of weird sort of examples that pop in. That's it's quite hard. You start questioning your own self and your morals, and you know that's not what you want to do. But it's like, why am I thinking about this stuff? And
I mean, I'm not a clinical psychologist, and it's not my area of expertise. But I've had a lot of clients who have that obsessive thinking, and I think it makes sense when you're elite that obsessiveness can help you become really small focused and stay on task. And, you know, so there's an element of the elite that have that ability just to do things repetitively over and over again. But the one thing that, you know, with the clients that I've worked with that is difficult to understand is like you telling that story then about, you know, I might question jumping in front of the car. That doesn't sound like a big deal. That's just sort of thoughts.
Yeah.
But it is so intrusive that it just never stops, and it's just exhausting, and it can just wear you out. And the fatigue and exhaustion of that is wild.
Oh, it's fucked. Like I wouldn't wish it upon anyone.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like, you know, I'm not saying that I'm the only person that goes through. Everyone has like challenging periods, but yeah, when I have been in those periods, it's like, you know, like people say you have like 3 million thoughts a day. Like imagine having one.
Yeah.
Like that's what it is literally
Yeah,
like.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And not that we want to make the podcast about
No,
that,
it's not about
but,
that. Yeah.
You know, have you found, you know, that whole – there are some incredible psychologists out there who are really skilled in this space and with a whole lot of different techniques.
Yeah.
Have you found ones that have helped?
Yeah, definitely. I'm working with a really cool guy at the moment, and I have been for the last couple of years. He's amazing, but you know, with a lot of these things too, it just comes back to time and just like again, like probably my biggest learning from him has been, you know, this year is like getting the foundations right of everything. And as I mentioned before, like if you think of a pyramid, and say the top level is, you know, partying with your mates, the middle level is like family, friends, and work. And then that bottom level being the foundation of that pyramid, like is sleep, your diet, your physical health, and your general health.
Yeah.
And so if I can control those 4 pillars like at the bottom as much as I can, as I said, it's not going to guarantee anything, but it's just going to be the best shot to then get like the other layers right.
Yeah.
So, it's been just like a big thing for me. And like you can think about this stuff, like the reason, you know, you think about it, I go like, well, maybe if this didn't happen, I wouldn't have got into good shape. I would have just kept going the way that I was. And, you know, thinking about it in that sense almost continues it to be like, well, sometimes in the shittest moments, like if someone's going through like the worst moment right now, you know, like you can actually make some pretty incredible changes that are still really challenging, but it can get you in a better place.
I think if I reflect on 2024 and, you know, my experiences having gone to an Olympics, and I went there accredited with the men and women's Olympic hockey teams. I mainly worked with the men's team. And the men in the lead up had won the International Pro League, so that was phenomenal. I think they went into that tournament sort of ranked about 7th in the world. They won that lead-in tournament. They get over to Paris, you know, if you win that tournament, you think you're in a chance for a medal, right? And the guys didn't put their best hockey together when it came to the Olympics, and they didn't even make the medals. And that experience, then coupled with coming back from the Olympics and going to Sydney and, you know, that grand final loss of Sydney, that was completely new experiences for me. I mean, I can't, and I really gave this a lot of thought coming on the podcast, I can't speak for those athletes, I think, and I don't want to attempt to at all say what it felt like to be an Olympian and know that you're good enough to win a medal and not even get in the medal rounds. But for me, in my role, it was really, I certainly felt like I had failed, and I certainly felt shocked and, you know, derailed and had a whole lot of questions. But one of the things, you know, my typical response in those situations is to go and learn what happened. Like, and there's never a clear answer to that when you're talking about elite sport with oppositions and, you know, a lot of uncontrollables in the environment. But I went and did a lot of study, and straight after the Swans grand final loss. And interestingly, one of the things that I really drilled into was values. You just were saying that, you know, you wanted to value working out more, and understanding our value system as humans and how we take action off our highest priority value. And quite often, you see this in the corporate world a lot, you know, there's people who are like, my highest value is my family. Like you would say right now, what would you say your highest value is right now?
Max.
Max, right? And they say their family. But because of their experiences that they've had throughout their life, and because of the beliefs that have been formed from those experiences, they have different values that are instilled in them. So, for instance, let's imagine there's a corporate executive and he grew up, didn't see his father much, but his father, when he did see him, bought him a lot of gifts, showered him with great, you know, luxury stuff, new clothes, new shoes. Then that man becomes a father himself, and he's saying, you know, my highest priority value is my family. But he's staying at work until midnight, and he's saying yes to everything that's asked of him at work at the expense of seeing his kid, because his highest priority value is really money. And then his next highest priority value is his career, because he wants that money. And then the third highest priority value is the family. And I think, you know, a lot of us are taking action thinking our highest priority value is, you know, our health and wellness, but really it's something entirely different because of the experience that have shaped us. And, you know, so for me, I had just left my family for a whole year. And I feel so terrible saying this because these Olympians have given up their whole life. A lot of those men in the hockey team have young kids and they've left their kids for international travel for years and years and years. Again, I can't speak for them, but I can speak for me. I leave my kids. My daughter goes into boarding school. You know, I don't really see my son much. And I come away and I'm like, gosh, they're my highest value. And I just put them behind my sport, behind my work. And then I, have nothing to show for it sort of thing. But really when I went and really dug deep into understanding values and my own values, when I did this work, it really came out that my highest priority value is coaching people and it is helping other people perform at their best. And what that has enabled me to do is to stop the guilt around that and the fight around that and know that I have to be more conscious around bringing my family into that space. So when I did this exercise with the values, it came out that it was coaching first, then it was my family, then it was my health and wellbeing. So it means now I have to go, I know I'm going to take that coaching call. So if I will make a plan to have a walk at the same time that I'm taking that call. I will make sure I fly Meg up to the Sydney Games so that she's involved in that space so that I can more consciously live a way that I want to live rather than just carrying on with, my family, my highest priority, and they're over there on the side. So I guess why I say that to you is that be mindful as your year picks up, because you said really it's been December, January, Feb. No, we're not even in Feb, but it's been the past 3 months that you've had this new, I value my workout and I value this foundation, to really be clear around that you wouldn't have built this business to the size that it is if it's not of a really high priority value to you. And so know that and accept that. And rather than fighting it, just have eyes wide open around how I can make sure that my health and well-being fits in with that. I don't know. That's just a little bit of advice.
1,000,000%. It's so crucial, and to the point where as well, I think my biggest values when you were explaining yours, I was thinking in my life, like it would be my family and business. Like I love working here and I love my family, but what underpins that is my general health, like my health. So it's like I think
right, but that doesn't mean that you hold it in your mind as your highest priority value. It's not drive our highest priority value. That is what we will take action off subconsciously every day of the week. And so then you get frustrated with yourself that you've let it go and pissed off that you've let it go because you've got this other value driving you to take action somewhere else. So it's going to be another busy year for you. You've got another child coming. I'm sure you're still building your business. So yes, that it is a foundation that underpins it. You consciously understand that, but taking action on that is very different to just consciously understanding that. And so it's really being aware that you're going to have to give it space, but that's going to be difficult to give it space. So you have to be very conscious around how you do that, whether you block it out in diaries or whatever. Know that you're going to take action on Max and your business before you take action on that when your back's against a wall.
Yeah, I love that. There's probably 3 things that jump out. Like Juz is, and we'll get to our stop-start keys later. But I'm very lucky that I've got a very honest partner that probably knows me better than I know myself. Which I think I've already read through her stop-start keeps for me, and it's telling. It's nothing that I don't know, but having those sort of people around you is so important to keep you accountable, I suppose, to those things as well. So. It's been already so valuable to jump into it. But do you want to get into our stop-start keeps? And talk about
can
why?
I explain?
Yeah, explain why.
Explain this stop-start
Please
keep.
do.
So because I have this deep, persistent fear that your audience are well and truly over me.
No one's sick of you, by the way. Like literally, we had like 400 messages today.
Yeah, we put up a post last night about who we want back on, and so many people were like so excited for Emma Murray to start the season.
Very kind, but I was like, I think it's time for a fresh
5 years in
start.
a row, by the way. 5 years.
Really?
Yeah, we didn't talk about that off the top.
Soz.
It's happy 5 years to Dyl Friends times Emma Murray.
Wow. Not even a cake or a balloon or anything.
I did because you were like 20 minutes late. It melted. Remember?
I actually don't think I've been on time once in 5 years. So I was going through my typical January. No, Dyl, I think your listeners deserve a new fresh start and blah, blah, blah. And then you twist my arm. And I was actually in the car with my daughter. She was driving. She's an L-plater.
This Meg or?
This is Meg.
She messaged me today too. She wants to come on this year. She reckons she's got a story to tell.
Oh, probably.
Yeah.
So I said to Meg, Dyl really wants me to do the first podcast. What should I talk about? And she said, why don't you talk about failure? She said, because that's, pretty much what that's what you experience. I was like, oh, okay, Meg, thank you for that. But I then was reflecting, as I said, on the year, and I think there's a saying that says when the student is ready, the teacher turns up or the teacher appears or something like that. And one of my learnings, and I guess this will continue to come out as the podcast goes on, but one of my learnings for 2024 through what my daughter has called my failures is that perhaps I have fallen into, or maybe not fallen into, I don't think I've ever not been in it. I am too kind to the people around me, whether that is my athletes that I work with, my children. I have this resistance to holding people to account. And I can probably, I sort of know where that comes from. But I looked back on 2024 and thought I really need to get more balance in my work. That was a big thing I learned in the study I did, was the importance of, that everything has to be balanced and, there's good and bad in everything, cruel and kind and cruel. We have to find this balance. So I was already reflecting on 2024 that I need to this year really own that a little bit more. And then, being the student that I am, the teacher appeared and I ended up having breakfast with a guy that most people in the footy world know, Jared Murphy. And was Jared ever at any of the clubs that you were at?
I don't think so, because we did do a stop and start keep, but I don't think it was Jared.
So Jared's a leadership consultant, and he was with Geelong for all of their premierships. And then he came to Richmond. But he was a real pioneer in this space. Leading teams was either he owned it, started it, whatever. But and when he was at Richmond, that's when I came in just to do a little bit of work. And I like to say sort of he was the reason why I was able to step into the AFL, and he was a great teacher for me. But I would always say Murph was really hard. Like, he was known for being hard on people. And I, as I've just said to you, I'm not hard enough. And so here I was, I'm going into a new year. I'm reflecting that maybe I need to get more balanced in my approach. And I end up reconnecting with Murph and having this, various different interactions with him, and already, again, have learnt so much. But it's a long way to say that when I had this breakfast with him, it brought back memories of my very first day at Richmond. And I was invited to come in and to watch something called a stop, start, keep. And it was something that leading teams have done, and leading teams have been in most clubs. So a lot of players have gone through this. And it's a particular feedback session where the player whose turn it is, they sit like outside the meeting room, And the players, well, this is what I've watched, so it might be different at other clubs. The players inside the room get into small groups and they have to come up with feedback of what this player needs to stop doing, start doing, and keep doing, I guess, to contribute to the performance of the team, to be their best, to, grow and all of those things. And from each small group, there is like a spokesperson, and then the player comes in, literally sits on a chair in the front of the room. And this is made even more dramatic at Richmond because they've got this theatre room that is like black and, there's all these, Richmond images on the wall, and it's sort of this dark theatre seating, and this player's sitting out the front on a stool. And the player whose turn it was Liam McBean. Now, Liam. Yeah. Liam was a tall, skinny forward at Richmond and a heap of talent. I didn't know Liam at all. I'm sitting in the very back row next to Dan Richardson, who was general manager at the time, and I'm like, so excited to be there. Like, you can't explain the first time you go into an elite sporting environment like that, and you're in the four walls, and I'm sitting there, amazing. I'm going to watch this stop, start, keep. So Liam comes in, Liam sits down, and the feedback starts. And I can't remember it all, but I was just getting more and more stressed for this player. Here were the ones that sort of, I ended up ringing Liam before I'm sharing this story. So these are the ones that we were reminiscing on. Someone said to him, along the lines of, but this was 8 years ago, as a bloke, as a footballer, I think you're okay. But as a bloke, I want to fucking punch you in the face. That was one piece of feedback under stop, start, keep. Another one was, you've bought the clothes you wear and the new car you've bought, you're just really getting ahead of yourself. Another one was like, you just think you're a rock star because of the music you play in the gym. Like, it was brutal and incredibly personal, which is not the point of a stop, start, keep at all. It's supposed to make you a better footballer. And at one point I audibly gasped. I was like, oh, I just could not believe that people were saying this to this person. Like, this is personal stuff that is, too loud. The clothes he wears is not good enough. And they're on the same team together, and I'd never seen anything like it in my life. And at the end of the stop, start, keep, I asked for his number. I'd never met him. And I rang him, and I'm like, Liam, like, you don't know me. I was in the room. That was just like, I'm so sorry that you just went through that, and please don't listen to it. And when I spoke to Liam only the other day, he was like, I couldn't believe this person was ringing me saying, don't listen to it. Like, this is what our club was doing. And, it changed the trajectory of his career. Like, who he was as a person was affected by that. And a lot of clubs, there was starting to become, I don't know for sure, but I think Jason Ackermanis was pretty vocal around how unhelpful it was for him, and part of why he left maybe Brisbane. Yep. Jack Rewalt wrote about his in his book, and that was published in the paper. And I think one of the challenges was that these young men were not equipped to receive feedback, but they were also not equipped to give feedback. Like, clearly that Liam McBean story shows that they're wildly off track. But in my, learnings with Murph and my conversations with Murph around, me really thinking, hang on, am I being accountable enough in my own life and to the people around me? I do think the whole concept of stop, start and keep has some really good premise in it and can be a really great tool when used appropriately. So that's when I said to you, it's a bloody long story to get to that, why don't we do our own stop, start, keep? And I put that out there, and I don't know how you felt asking for it, but how did you go receiving your stop, start, keep?
I asked 3 people, in my life that would probably I go to for these things anyway, and one being Juz, my wife, and then Baldy, my business partner, and then Ali, who's a mentor of mine. And I suppose like I do actually seek feedback. I crave feedback a lot of the time, but it's still confronting. It's still scary. And I think the scary part is if they don't align with what you think they're going to be. Because I think everyone knows what they need to improve on, but if it's not aligned, that's when you need to probably start working on it the most. That's a really good point you make around Liam McBean. I know Liam well. He actually kicked 6 for Glenelg and drew them, got him over the line in the grand final, the Sanford grand final last year too. So he's responded in some sense, but it didn't help that these things aren't personal things. They're like, how can you actually just be better?
There's a big lesson in that Liam McBean story because, again, as I said, my 2024 and the learnings out of that 2024 was really seeing that everything has benefits, everything has drawbacks. Nothing is one way or the other.
Nothing's good,
nothing's bad. It just is.
Yeah.
You know, when people are like, that shouldn't have happened. Well, yes, it should have because it did. Like, it just is. Like, we don't need to always have – we live our lives as humans only wanting sort of it to turn out one way. And it's like the caveman that only ever wants the prey. They're going to get fat. They're going to get gluttonous. Like, we've got to have the prey we want to chase and we want we've got to have the predator chasing us. We have to have the good and bad. We have to have the light and dark. And when I spoke to Liam, you know, it was actually a really valuable conversation because I've only got the picture of Liam on that day receiving that feedback, getting delisted. That's my story of Liam. And then speaking to him recently, like he's in this great job. He's a leader of Glenelg. They've won however many premierships. You know, he's engaged. He's knows what he wants to do. He wants to get in the leadership space based on a lot of his experiences. And you can look back and go, well, not good, not bad. Like that has helped him and shaped him at the time, painful for him. And certainly I don't advocate people going and giving feedback about personal stuff. I think that becomes, you know, criticism. I think it should be in that critiquing space where we're talking about actions that they're taking and behaviours that they can change. But I sort of smiled to myself after speaking to Liam going, well, another example of not good, not bad. You know, did the Swans players want to lose like that? No. But there will be benefits that have come out of that result for them. They'll be more driven. They'll be more committed to standards. They'll, you know, adhere to team process differently. There are always benefits in the things that seem the hardest. And, yeah, you're right. Liam is killing it.
You can look at it the other way as well, which I don't like. I think that way gets highlighted a lot, but like the other way doesn't get highlighted.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
You're
like
so right.
when good things happen.
Yeah.
Because no one ever goes when a good things happen, oh, this might not be good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like you could think about it in a small scale of like maybe a player or something debuts when they shouldn't really.
Yeah.
And you go, oh, that's good, but fuck, maybe it isn't good.
100%.
You win a flag and then something happens and you go, oh, that was a good moment, but maybe it actually wasn't a good moment.
Yeah.
So it goes both ways.
I had an athlete who I caught up with recently and they're like, oh, January's been great. This is happening. This is great. And that's great. And everything's great. I'm going to have the great season, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, what's the downside of that? Like think of the flip side of everything being great right now. And they sort of stopped in their tracks. And I'm like, the more you get attached to it being great, then the more it's got to, you know, part of that study that I did was learning about something called hedonic adaptation, which is where everything's trying to return to a normal balance. And there's a practitioner called John D. Martini who always says, show me your fantasy and I'll show you your nightmare. It's like the more you get attached to this picture, this fantasy, this amazing thing, the more in order to balance out is something's going to come crashing in. So just seeing everything for what it is rather than wanting this great, amazing thing to turn out a particular way and attaching to it, wanting it, running towards it, and not being okay with the other side of the coin is really important. We've gone way off track.
No, we haven't. But before we get into our stop-start keep, I just want to go on one more thing because I think it's so important what you're talking about before around, you know, all the experiences that I'm sure a lot of your athletes have been through, or yourself and myself. Sometimes like you look back at it and like all of those shit things have actually ended up being the change. And if what's that saying? It's like if nothing changes, nothing changes. So like with change will occur.
Yep.
So like you've got to change something for then change to happen.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good and bad.
Yep.
So that's probably been the big one that I've taken out of just other things this year that, you know, not entirely big or small things, just like it's not what's happened. It's how I react to it. Like it can change. Something can change, and I'll change with it.
Yeah. Well, that's sort of what you were saying before with your anxiety, that it was a catalyst for your focus on health and well-being.
Yeah.
You know, that's a benefit that has come out of that. And I think I talk about with people a lot around acceptance. And, you know, when we're in this really unhelpful emotional state and, God, you know, and this is another topic. Can I divert a little bit? I know we're going off stop, start and keep, but one thing going into this year I feel quite strongly about is I love that people are far more aware of breath and saunas and ice baths, and like I love it.
Yeah.
I think that's awesome. And I think you see people's social feeds so much more about this wellness space. But for a lot of people, it's like just another ego mask that they can put on. You know, it's just another layer. So now I'm doing the ice bath and I've got to do it as well as him and better than him, and I'm doing it every day, and if I don't do it every day, I fail. But underneath, there is still this, you know, lack of awareness and understanding and connection of what's really going on for them and what they feel. And I really think that humans are struggling. I think we have a human wiring system that is wired for survival. And just like, I mean, we have an iPhone that we regularly update. We need to keep updating this human wiring in order to, you know, adapt and change and grow. And I think people are just stuck with this human wiring that's not serving them. And now they're putting their attention and focus on ice baths and saunas and everything else, where they also need to actually do the work to get internal and understand that. And when you say you're working with a guy who's really helping you, and I can hear some of the things, the way that you're framing up that anxiety that and the loops that you've been having, the way that you're framing that up, I can hear that you're getting someone to support you in that and helping you do that. And that means that you're just not putting a Band-Aid of, now, well, I'm just going to get in the gym and I'm just going to pump hard and I'm going to do this. That you're actually going, yes, I'm going to get in the gym because it's good for me, but I'm really going to understand this and I'm going to understand how to look at it and manage it, so that combined with the health and fitness and wellness is doing the work. We've talked about doing the work a lot over the 5 years. But I think going into this year, as humans are struggling, I don't even know how I've got on this tangent now, but as humans are struggling, do the work, like get help. Like it's,
you know what's hard? Like, and we had this discussion last year, right? Like do the work. Yeah, cool. But you don't, unfortunately.
Don't know what that is.
No, I don't think we don't know what it is, but you can't, I don't know if you can do the work without like hitting a point that you need to do the work. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like how hard is it to be the
Absolutely.
proactiveness?
Yeah.
Like we can sit here and go, oh, you know, it was shit, it was that. But, you know, I get to talk to you all the time, not as much as I like. But with those moments, like the person you're talking about with the ice baths this year and they're putting them up, that was me in 2024.
Yeah.
So I was doing that until it hit a point where I was like, why am I actually doing this?
Yeah,
the reason I was doing it the start of last year is so different to the reason I'm doing it now.
Yeah.
And it's not using it as a Band-Aid now, it's using it as a mechanism of like actually becoming better.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying a lot of people that do ice baths, we're not just ice, like that's a generalization, but I think it's just more like thinking, why are you doing what you're doing? Is it to fit in and look a certain way or, you know, be with a certain crowd, or is it actually serving you a really good purpose? And the odds are it's doing both.
Yeah.
But just working out which one maybe has more value for you.
Yeah. And in a funny way, I think with my work, the, you know, the learning, whenever I was doing learning, it was like, oh, how can I take this learning and help that person be better? And how can I take this learning and bring this to my athletes? But what last year did for me, it was like, how can I take this learning and really change how I show up and how I question things and how I go into the space of my work and my family and my friends. And It was truly humbling for me. It was truly, you know, as I said, connecting with people like Murph, it was truly like, wow, it doesn't matter who I work with. There's just so much I can learn, but really learn it as that foundational piece, as opposed to just another trick in my book that I can, really go, what does this mean for me, and how does it change who I am, and how does it change me as a parent? I don't know. I don't even know if I'm explaining it very well.
No, I'm vibing with it. I'm on that wavelength.
Yeah, but again, you were completely humbled by your
I was fucking humbled,
anxiety,
man.
and I was like kicked to the curb.
Yeah.
And the biggest thing that kicked me to the curb, because I'm making it sound like about me, my pain for those athletes and my pain and fear for what those athletes were going to experience after that loss.
Yeah.
And
4 years of waiting again.
Yeah. And has made me go, we need to equip people to be able to run towards the highs, want the highs, but we need to equip them that these rock bottom things, that they're okay and there's good things in it and you're going to be all right and you're going to learn and grow from it. We need to equip people with that.
Yeah. It's last one before we get into stop start keeps. We keep riffing off, but like it's even that analogy of, when you feel like you're like buried underground and you feel like you can't see any sunlight. It's like, are you buried or are you growing roots that can then stand you up for a massive foundation? And it's probably just the way that
Yeah, that one's going on your promo, isn't it?
Yeah, you like that one, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty good.
That's good.
Give us your
you never fail to have something profound.
Talk shit. I just talk shit.
Or is that one that you made?
I got that tattooed across my chest. It's for I haven't showed you
with
yet.
like a bamboo.
Yeah.
Because isn't it like you plant bamboo and it takes 20 years before it comes through the ground, something like that?
Yes, it is. Do you want to go first? Do you want to go one for one? Like one person for like who gave you your first?
Well, mine are wildly. Let me just explain.
Yeah.
I went to my children.
Okay.
Why did I go to my children? Because I do have a pretty strong narrative around not being a good enough parent. And so I thought, well, I should get their feedback. But then I also went to, I've never asked him to be my mentor, but he's the most phenomenal man. His name is Bernard Savage. And I worked with him. He was the high performance manager for Hockey Australia. So
this is a recent. Have you known him for a long time?
No.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, but he was at the Olympics and went on that travel and did that work for him. And I genuinely wasn't doing this for podcast content. I'm like, if I'm doing this, I'm really doing this.
Yep.
And I really wanted to have feedback from someone who had worked with me recently. Bernard is very aware, grounded, measured, emotionally intelligent. So I knew his feedback would be very constructive. I wasn't convinced my children were going to provide the same level of, awareness. I mean, my eldest is beyond emotionally aware, but she's a busy corporate lawyer and I thought she'd just squeeze it in to, it's a non-billable hour that I have to spend on this. So you know what? I'll do it on the train. But funny story, there was one of hers that I was like, I'm not sure about that. So I asked her over text, could I get some clarification around that?
And that's allowed.
Yeah. And I said, would it be okay if I question this point? And she wrote back her explanation, then said, are you offended, with all these question marks? Then I hopped on a plane. So I didn't respond to her.
And she called me.
And she called you.
She thought you were dead.
Because she was freaking out that I was like, she's cut, she's done. All because of our Dyl Friends stop, start and keep. It wasn't the case. I just was on a plane. All right, you go. You start. Off you go.
All right, well, I'll tell you my three. So Juz, who's obviously my wife, that one, as I told you, she's very self-aware of me and very, I wouldn't say critical, but just very honest. And I think I need honest people around me. Like I really respect that. My business partner, Adam, who, Mon knows Baldy really well. Like he's just probably one of the most, I don't even know, just
he's
so
very measured,
calm, strategic.
Yeah.
just very measured person. So I'm so lucky to have him and also a good friend of mine, Ali, who's a real mentor for mine. And I think like the reason I've picked these three people is I think that these not just these three people, but I think these three people believe in me more than I believe in myself sometimes. So I really value their opinions. I'll start with Jazz and then we'll do one for one.
Okay.
So Jazz, she was very easy on the stops and the starts. She said, stop engaging in mindless phone use when you're around Max, with family or during meals and outings.
Right.
So
that was one of your outs.
And that's why I was, if there was one that I could question her on, it was going, have you seen an improvement in this?
Yeah.
Because you know how sometimes you can get labelled as something and then that just sticks.
I felt that's what I was questioning.
So that was just the one I
yeah.
would question a little bit because I feel like I have gotten a lot better at that.
Okay. And she's just picking up that one time and that's, right.
Look, there's still a room for improvement, but I think I can get better.
Okay.
The start was taking more responsibility and pride in your surroundings, keeping your space tidy at home, putting things away after you use them and cleaning up after yourself, and don't forget your car. So like my car's dirty as well.
Okay.
Okay, so that's that one.
How did you feel about that?
That's fair enough. And I think that like, you know, those sayings, like you look at someone's bedroom or you look at their car and it'll give you a good indication of how they're going.
Yeah.
It's like that's normally, if my car's clean, I'm normally like in a good space. If it's got shit everywhere, it's like, well, maybe that's an indication of how things are going in my life at the moment.
Do you know what I would also say? Highest priority value. Like it's like you just, do you keep the studio a mess?
No, not really. We try not to. I'm actually quite a clean around the studio though.
Yeah, you're actually, we have
Highest
a
priority
values,
value.
values chat, and Dyl is often the one sending the photos being like, this isn't good enough.
This is really important, Dyl. This
Yeah.
is the point I want to make.
Yeah.
Highest priority value. You're saying that, you know, my highest priority value is Max, but Max has to get in that car.
Yeah.
You know, Max has to live in that house. Oh, but I'm going to keep my business clean. This is why I'm saying be aware and really, you know, go, do I have to bring more conscious awareness to that? Because I'm not going to act on that because it's actually not a priority for me. And you know what it's a big thing for me this year? I'm just owning if it's not a high priority for me, I'm outsourcing it.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting it anymore.
Yeah.
I'm outsourcing it.
I love outsourcing. I think that I've definitely got to bring more awareness to it. And I think there's also a part of just our relationship as well, in the sense of a family. Like I know that for Jazz is like her love language of like, like being clean and living in a good environment, which is also one of mine as well. So I think I just need to bring more awareness to it. It's not that I don't care. And then the keep was keep maintaining a healthy work-life balance. I truly appreciate the effort you make to spend every minute you can with your family while still working hard and prioritising your health. You set a goal to master this last year, and I think you're nailing it.
Nice.
That was nice.
That's good. Well done.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, I might start with Bernard. I will leave the kids over there.
Yeah.
I will start with Bernard. It was like, I want to stress, because I know when people listen to your podcast, it sparks, because when I was thinking about, well, what can we do on the podcast to keep listeners engaged because they're sick of me. And I was thinking of Stop, Start, Keep. I said to Tess, my eldest, what do you think of Stop, Start, Keep? And I explained to her how it works. And she was out to breakfast with her housemate. She's like, I love it. We're going to do one now. So I do want to really say to people that listen to how Bernard has given me feedback, because it is an example of how you can give feedback in a way that helps someone really grow rather than shut them down.
Yeah.
So I do.
Do you reckon Jazz's were a bit of a shutdown?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah, I reckon too. I was
like my kids, maybe a little bit.
I think the family and spouse one is like, you got to take that with a grain of salt. Yeah, I think that is.
Stop doing that.
She's like 25 weeks pregnant and hates me. So.
Yeah. So I bloody loved it when I got Bernard's feedback. Like, I want people to know who are listening that this can really be a powerful tool. So his stop was, stop jumping to question what you have done when things don't pan out the way they should or the way that you thought they should. So when things don't go the way I wanted to them, I keep coming back to me being the sole responsibility. So I'm immediately like, there are 22 boys in that team yet. I was the reason why they just lost like that. And that's because I'm not doing my job and I jumped to that straight away. And, at the end of last year, I had a lot of people sort of saying, oh, but you can only give people tools but it's wildly unhelpful. And it is really great feedback because it doesn't help me see things objectively, and it's too much me tying up who I am into the role. And really my job is to teach people particular mental skills. That's all I can do. I can't make people use them. Anyhow, that's me justifying. I really need to start being really clear to people that I'm working with of what I need in the environment to help me help the environment be successful. So be super clear on, I need this much time, I need this much support, I need this space, I think for a long time, and when he said this, I was explaining to him that I feel like when I first entered into the sports space, it was like I was just so bloody grateful to get a foot in the door. Like, it's like, oh my God, I'm allowed to work with these people that I would just, they would say, okay, we'll give you 5 minutes in front of the group. I'd take 5 minutes in front of the group. We'll give you, and I was still doing that right up to, last year. And even though in my heart I'm like, that's not going to get the results, that's not going to allow me to bring my tools to these people in the best way possible in the environment that the way they're setting up the environment. And I just need to be clearer and stronger and set stronger boundaries around that. And it's coming from a place of, I'm lucky to be here, rather than, no, I know my stuff. I'm good at this. I've got runs on the board. I know what needs to happen for this to work. And putting myself in the position of expertise that I can actually tell you how it should look in the mental space for it to be successful. But
that's interesting for me to hear that, because I've known you for a long time and I don't get that as being something for you. Do you think that maybe that's just like, has it taken a back step to what you can do in that area, in the sense of like, I feel like you're very confident in your skill set. Do you think it's taken a hit or something, or is it just not?
I'm confident and I know that I can help anyone.
Yeah.
But I also know the pressure, and you would know this, the scheduling and the meetings and the this and the that. So I'm like, okay, I'll squeeze in there. Yeah. Comes back to, remember, I don't want to be that accountable, confronting person. Yeah. This is where I don't have enough balance. Oh my God, I'm really like putting out, everyone's going to say, don't use her. Listen to all her weaknesses on Dyl Friends podcast. But because I don't want to be that person holding people to account. No, we do need to have this time during finals week. No, it does need to look like this. So it's not a lack of confidence in my skill. It's just a not wanting to
put others out
and be a hassle. And I'm lucky that I'm here. And, it goes hand in hand with, it's my fault if it doesn't work. So I really just got to make sure I, do what they want me to do, sort of thing. So, does that make me sound terrible at what I do?
No. I think if people pretend they know it, no, it's not.
Burying my career?
No. If anything, it's unbelievable, because people, I think that we're old enough and wise enough now to know that if people pretend they know what they're doing, they're just talking shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then whilst you do know what you're doing, you're sharing the parts that are still challenges, which we all have. No matter what level you're at, even you being an expert in this field, you can still improve on certain things.
The morning after the grand final, we had, the kids had friends staying at the house, and I got up super early. And, have you played in a final?
No, not an AFL final.
Right.
No.
What?
I played in under 15.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Is it the same thing or not?
Pickleball final last week at local pickleball.
I played table tennis outside before. That was pretty hectic.
That was the final.
Yeah.
I can't imagine what it feels like for those guys. I really can't. But so, you get up, all these people are staying because they were all going to have the night of their lives. And I took the dog for a walk. I think I walked for like 3 hours, just, trying to process it all. And I jumped straight to exactly what Bernadette said. What have I done wrong? But then I eventually got to this point where I was like, no, I am going to become, because the similarities between the Kookaburras and the Swans were both teams have had pretty traumatic losses in the past. And I feel like that, you know, when you as an athlete or a team have had really hardcore experiences, there's a level of trauma to that can come back and get you in those moments of pressure. And I really was determined, like, I'm going to become that person who understands losing under pressure and how not to lose again under pressure. And so part of that is his start around really being, if I know that and I'm studying that and I'm learning that and I'm exploring that, now ask for what I need in that space.
We're not going to change topic. We're going to stay on it, but I do want to talk about how you approach, and you can't give away too much secrets. How do you approach the season with the Swans later? I want to talk about that later.
Okay, all right. You know, he said, keep my genuine, unbridled enthusiasm for learning and looking to solve things in different ways. You know, my curiosity to look at what's going on with people and teams and being open to all different possibilities and perspectives. And, you know, as he said that, I was like, that is in me. I'm actually...
You did that. You went and learned some new things.
Yeah, exactly.
Good. Bordy is my business partner next one. So his stop for me was... Stop doubting yourself when something doesn't hit right away. Yeah, exactly the same as yours.
Wow.
And then delaying giving feedback when you don't like something.
That's what I've been saying my learning is, like this whole like avoidance of, wow, Dyl. Do you know what's so important that we've both said that? I think one of the biggest things that people are challenged by in their lives is that imposter syndrome. Am I good enough? I'm not good enough. I'm out of my depth. And I feel like we're bringing it out, putting it on the table and saying, see, super normal, like super, super normal.
Mon can probably talk to this better than anyone, but like the whole thing around maybe not it's not really confrontation or anything like that I don't enjoy. It's just more the fact of like thinking, do I actually want to do this? Because then like 2 weeks passes and I'm like, fuck me, why did I say yes? It's like there's no reason why I want to do this.
Yeah, it's definitely something I've been kind of working directly under you for 5 months now, 6 months. And I think at the start it was something I learned very quickly that, okay, you've said yes, and then maybe you ask a couple questions about it and I can kind of gauge how you're feeling based on those questions. And now I feel like we're at a point where, you know, it's my job to go, all right, what are we doing? What are we not? What do you want to do? That I feel like I know straight away now, which is good. And that means you've improved on it.
No, we've improved. We just have, I'm very lucky to have Mon, and she nets a lot of stuff for me where she's like, you're not going to want to do that. I'm like, you're right, let's not do it. Or vice versa. Sometimes she just makes me do it. Which is nice as well. Like it is actually quite good when you got someone who says, no, you're fucking doing it. And I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, let's just do it then.
Yeah. Dave Asprey, you know, Richmond triple premiership player and leader, he has done a fair bit of work with me, and I say to him continually, I just am so in awe of his ability to be so clear on what he wants to do, what he doesn't do. He designs how he uses his time phenomenally, and he owns it, and he doesn't apologize for it. And I'm like, wow, that's like a superpower.
It is. It's really impressive.
It's. Do
you know what I love?
I'm so impressed.
I got a really good mate, Tim Curry, and like this is so random because he'd never know how good this is, but even to this extent of catching up for a coffee or something like that. Like he'll message me being like, mate, let's catch up for a coffee next week. I'll be like, yeah, I know that there's no fucking way I have time to get a coffee next week. Like there's just no chance. Like I might even be in Europe next week and I'm just still saying, yeah, let's do it. Because I want to do it. I want to see him and I want to hang out. Yeah. Whereas like I'll message him and I'm like, mate, do you want to catch up like this week? And he goes, no, I can't. I've got too much on. And I'm like, fuck, well, why didn't you just like, I'm like, that is the fucking best answer ever. Thank you.
I know.
Like, why can't I just do that?
Why can't I do that?
So that's a
our
good one.
stop.
There you go. Start was start, and again, it was quite interesting because I've had a lot of conversations about this sort of towards the end of last year as well when we're sort of reassessing a few things. He said, start focusing on things that light you up. Train for life like a professional athlete. So,
hang on, who's telling you this
This
stuff?
is my business partner.
Yeah, right.
So he's pretty amazing. Yeah. But so he knows that like if I'm doing things that like I'm really big on like not doing the same thing all the time. And I think last year I got in a very repetitive thing of like having, just say like too many footballs on the show and not like learning from other people or having conversations like this where I don't have the answer to certain things, and just got too repetitive in the sense of like, I'm not growing, I'm not learning, I need to be doing things that light me up. Like I went to Adelaide with Mon and Will and Scott and Darcy and Ned last week, and it was like a time for me where I was like, holy shit, this is the coolest thing I've done in a couple of years. Like I am loving this. Like I want to start a TV show now where we go to every state and do this. And it was the first time I'd had that like fire for a while, just being like, oh, this is good.
Yeah.
So keep doing things that light me up. And then, yeah, like Baldy again has been really big for me in the thing of like with that professional side of stuff, I suppose with the energy and maybe that obsessiveness that you have as an athlete, like you put that into other things. And he sort of said, like gave me the advice of like, I need to train for life. Like I'm training as an athlete. So like basically train as an athlete, but it's just to be good at life, not to be good at footy.
Right.
If that makes sense. So
is he meaning train like physically train?
Not like train anything, eat, sleep, look after yourself like you look after yourself as an athlete. Like
does he? Do you reckon? Do you
no,
look at him?
I've called back. I've actually called him back on that and said, well, mate, like I've done it now. Yeah. Like I'm at this level, and he's like, yeah, I need to listen to my own advice.
Yeah. Okay.
But that main point is like sometimes you can't do it until something like pops up that you need to take action on it. But that's been a really big one for me, and the keep in the start one, which I feel like I'm already doing. And then the last one was keep being a visionary and challenging the status quo, celebrating others by sharing the credit for your success. So I don't necessarily believe that, but I think it's.
I think that. Yeah. I think that's a good one for you. Yeah. Absolutely. I feel like we need to touch base more on this, like physical training little thing that you're on.
Yeah, because I know what you're thinking.
Okay.
I think you're thinking that it's because I spoke to my psychiatrist about this as well.
Well, he would know more than me.
No, it's the same thing. It's like I think don't let it become something that if I miss it, then things. Is that what you're thinking?
Well,
or you think I'm replacing?
No. I think you're doing awesome. I think it's great. I'm listening through the ears of your listeners because sometimes we hear the exercise message and the train message and all of this, but those actions are just a reflection. Like if you're listening right now and you're not, you don't have that part of your life in order, then it's not as simple as going, okay, I'm going to put it on my start list and now I'm going to start doing it. If it was that simple, we wouldn't have like obesity and unfit and, and it's a bit like what I was saying with the ice baths and the saunas. It's understanding that you have this human wiring underneath all of this that is driving those actions. Yeah. And so I don't need to get better at training. I need to get better at understanding my human wiring, which you're really good at, right? So it's a psychiatrist can sit and have that conversation with you because you're with a psychiatrist and he's helping you understand your wiring. And then the outcome of that is now you're building this foundation. But not everyone has access to a psychiatrist.
Completely, yeah.
And not everyone, has resources, time, or they're not in the place where they feel like they can go and seek those resources. Yeah. So what am I telling them to do?
It's a great point. Like it that comes from a very privileged place of talking about those things and having access to those.
It's not even just privilege.
But I have been in those positions too.
Yes.
Like that's why I feel like I can talk to it because I'm like, I sound like I'm fucking David Goggins here. I've literally done about 3 gym sessions, guys. I'm not saying that I'm carrying boats or doing anything crazy. I'm literally doing like bugger all, but it's better than nothing. And I'm doing, like, I've made a lot of changes as well in my sense because I was that sort of guy that was like, all right, if I'm going to get into running, I'm going to go buy a new pair of runners.
Yeah.
If I'm going to get into the gym, I'm going to go get a gym membership. And this time I was like, no gym membership, no new runners.
Okay, awesome.
I have to prove to myself first that this is
prove.
I have to show that this isn't about that. It's not about the looking cool while running or going to the gym. It's actually about just like, as you mentioned, rewiring the body, doing something that's going to be good for me both physically and then in turn mentally.
And I want people to understand if they make a commitment like you have to get that stuff in order and then they go off track, that the answer is not beating themselves up, or the answer is not, 2025, I'm same old me, so I might as well roll over and, give up. It's about really exploring what's going on for me, what is distracting me, where is the stress coming from. Look, and it might be that work's really crazy busy and, I've got a boss that's really making my life hell and I've got a sick kid, and actually sitting in that and feeling that and accepting what's out of your control and seeing what the benefit of certain parts of that is, the things that you can control, the things that you can't control. I mean, I can't, tell everyone exactly what to do in this environment, but to understand that you're not a bad person or you're not weak or you're not lazy if what ends up on your start, and you might do a stop, start, keep on yourself, is something that you really have great intent around, like exercise, food, alcohol, but fall off the wagon. Just come back, manage the stress, go again.
It's taken me 3 years to get to this point. Like every year it's been on my stop, start, keep. I took a photo of myself after we had that chat and then took another photo of myself this year, so it must have been a bit earlier, and there was no difference. So definitely don't feel bad for because it will get to a point where it will click.
Well, just to show you that you're in good company, I should jump into my kids'
Go.
stop, start, and keep. Their stop not practicing what you preach by putting everyone's needs before your own. Okay, now this one got me. Victim mindset when things are really going hard. Now,
That's...
I know, right? But here's a funny thing about this. When I present to groups and I talk about this concept of having an A game and a B game, and our B game is like when we're in all the stuff that we can't control, and I encourage people to know the warning signs of your B game, like know how it's showing up for you. And I always say loud and proud how it shows up for me is victim mindset. As soon as I'm like, I'm too tired, I'm too busy, I've got too many children, I know that I'm in victim mindset. So I say it loud and proud. I said it yesterday morning to a group, and then they write that in a message, and I was like, I wanted to sort of, I didn't like it.
That's the one you questioned?
No.
Okay.
Not setting time aside to intentionally rest. My God, I read this thing yesterday on the hurried parent, and it was talking about what is the most stressful environment for a child to be raised in. Is it divorce? Is it, grief and loss? Is it, what was some other, low socioeconomic? And the most stressful environment for a child to be raised in is a busy parent environment, hurried parent. And I'm like, that is me. That's another way I've ruined my children. And now they've put it on my stop. So not intentionally resting. Negative narratives. I'm a bad mum.
As in saying your negative narrative is you say to yourself,
I'm a bad mum. I raised my kids from abandonment. Yeah. I'm going to be alone forever. I just had the year that I had. I've got no friends. I don't, because I don't see my friends. Okay, so fair point. This is a big one. And I have already started actioning this. This is my 2025, avoiding finances. I'm just I'm like one of those little kids. If I can't see it, it doesn't exist. I've been listening to podcasts about it. And this is a good message. If you don't understand something, I've been listening to podcasts, meeting with accountants, trying to educate myself. I'm trying to learn it.
But can I give you some of your own advice that you said earlier? Outsource.
Yes, right. But I don't even know what to outsource because I'm so bad at it.
I work with my financial literacy. I have brief understand. I've gotten a lot better from owning my own business, but numbers and I dropped maths as soon as I could.
Same.
And I've got an incredible team that help us work here, like Ricky, who I have a meeting with once a month. We go through everything, explains everything in layman's terms, because you have to have some level of confidence on what you're doing. You can't just let other people make your own financial decisions. But is your time better spent trying to relax or do your thing, or trying to calculate every month what you've
I'm not
delegated?
doing that, but I actually need to know how much money I have and where it is.
Yeah, okay. Well, actually, you know what? Maybe work that out. Yeah, that's probably a good thing to do.
Now, I disagree with this one. Doom scrolling. That is a habit I'm really proud that I have broken. Yeah. I actually had a conversation with Meg in the car coming here. She's like, because I wanted to see what someone's girlfriend looked like. So I get up Instagram. She's like, Mum, you have to stop logging into Instagram on Safari. Like, you have to get the app. And I'm like, Meg, I have deliberately done that. So she's like, it's a bad experience. You can't do anything on it. I'm like, exactly. I have made it a bad experience so that I stop doom scrolling. And
whose
it's worked
girlfriend
for
were you
me.
looking at?
I'm not telling. Because I shouldn't have said that, should I?
It's fine. There's a lot of girlfriends out there. I don't think anyone's going to know.
I made it a bad experience. I made the whole socials a bad experience by taking the app off, and then I have to log in if I want to see something. And I have to stop like this whole sleep revenge procrastination where I stay up all night because I don't want to go to sleep, because I don't want the next day to start. Did you know that was a thing? It's called sleep revenge procrastination. It's a thing. It's when you watch mindless television, scroll, do nothing because you've lacked control during your day over your own time. So you want to get your time back. It's bad.
I can definitely empathise with that a little bit. Like, once you put the kids down and you're like, fuck, now this is my only time to just like chill for a bit by myself.
Yeah. And it's like, if you went to bed then, like, where is the you time? And I've had these periods during the year where I've gone on, like, I've put myself into my own rehab program around it and I've got through it and then I fall off the wagon.
Sleeping is just,
it's everything. It's everything.
Have you got any start?
I need to start resting and taking time for myself. I need to manage my finances better, have more self-compassion. I need to lift weights more.
Yeah.
I need to take more trips on holidays. That's that photo thing. I need to go to bed earlier. I need to put myself before my kids. And they're put in brackets, pains us to say. This was the one I questioned. I need to start sitting in my A game. Like, I'm like, what? This big one. Need to ask to be paid what I'm worth.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Is that not?
Yeah, I'm bad.
Do you have anyone that looks after that stuff for you?
No, I give away more for free than I do for being paid.
You do. I should be paying you $100,000 a year.
What am I up to? Keep. Oh, you know what? They're just like, keep doing what you're doing. But they did say putting effort into helping others in the way I do, being curious about life, trying new things to be a better version of myself, having meaningful conversations about how you are as a person, how others are in their lives. I need to keep helping Tess and her friends in times of crisis. I'm like a life coach to like everyone. I need to keep. Is this a keep?
Do you give a lot of like boy advice to Tess and her friends, or is it more just life advice?
No, life advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not relationship advice?
No, because look, I haven't done a great job of that myself. But no, I give them advice around sort of.
Yeah.
No, I do.
Well, it's all transferable
it's all the same
skills.
stuff, right?
Yeah, and I wasn't generalising that. I was just wondering because, like, I always just think of like what a father-son relationship will be like with that. I probably didn't have that.
Yeah.
Much.
Yeah. So look, they went on. I take it all that they've said.
Good. I have one more from Ali, but it's a little bit quick. Ali said, "Stop judging yourself." So I suppose that's just if something doesn't stick straight away, I just become incredibly frustrated with myself. He's been on to me this for 12 months. Start a Vedic massage. Ayurvedic.
Yeah.
You heard of this? It's like it's
a form of medicine.
It's for body, mind, and spirit energy connection. So he's really like, he's quite strange.
I didn't know it was specifically massage. I thought it was just a form of medicine.
Yeah, so it's like a massage where they
are like, a particular way you eat like that. And
live
like that. Yeah.
There you go. So I'll have to find out a bit more about it, but it's quite.
Oh, can you find out? Can we
look it up, Mon?
You know, can that be a new
He keeps
friend
trying to send
memory?
me
We'll
some
go on
place
it.
in like Ringwood, and it's like an hour from me, so I haven't been out there yet. But the massage session can last up to 60 minutes depending on the type of treatment. It may involve some soothing music and chants playing softly in the background. For the massage, you'll lie on the massage bed and the practitioner will pour warm herbal oil on your body and start massaging. Sounds pretty good.
That sounds
Might try
great.
that. And last one was keep acting from your heart, continue shining your bright light. That's very nice. Anyway.
Hang on. His start is just the massage, and what's the other one?
Stop judging yourself. Start getting Vedic massages, and then keep acting from your heart. Continue to shine a bright light for your community.
Oh, my kids went deep, didn't they? They went so
he
much more.
must have been strapped for time. Just like we spoke about before, there was that point we were talking about the swans, and we were talking about learning from difficult times and whatnot, heading into a season in all sport, life, everything. How do you approach a team like that after the finals loss? But then, probably if there does become a narrative around that and it can become all fulfilling in your own mind, do you think that would be a problem at all? Like,
So I'm going to try and answer it without sort of
giving away the secrets. Yeah, that's fine.
as you would appreciate.
Yeah,
But the Swans are, I mean, like the CEO of the club is Tom Harley. Like Tom
I know
Harley
Tom. Topper.
knows how to win premierships, right? Like he's very good at what he does, and he's an incredible leader. So already they're operating in an environment which is very curious, very open. It's a safe environment. So they've already got all of the ingredients there based on, what I believe in, what I've learnt, the patterns I've seen in people is that, too often as athletes, when we have a loss, what we do is we try to rationalize that. Well, it was we at least got there. We were one of two teams that got there, and we're better for the experience. And what we do as humans when we rationalize something difficult that we're going through, we immediately stop feeling it. So it's a way of just like shoving it down and making sense of it, sort of thing. And through my study in mindfulness, it's really healthy. The more that we just allow ourselves to feel what we need to feel, this is how it can shift and move, and this is how we can process it. And so really allowing those players and giving them the time and space, I think that's a big challenge in AFL clubs. They don't give anything enough time and space. It's like, we've got to get on and do this. Like if you miss a handball session on the first week back in December, it's not going to affect you losing grand final. So let's give some time and space to allow us to reflect, to feel, to process what we just experienced so that we can take the learnings, so that we can see it's not all bad, so that it can decharge it in our subconscious mind. Because what happens is our subconscious mind stores those events, and we get on and we train hard and we're going to, retribution and, go harder and do more. And then we step back in that environment again, and our subconscious mind brings up that same experience and brings up those same feelings. And now we're back here again and we're frozen and we're not up to the task. We are up to the task. We have the skills and the fitness and the game plan, but we went into that functional freeze response because our mind was like, oh, I know this, here we are, this is dangerous, I'm going to freeze. So it's really about giving them the time and the space to really decharge that experience for them and know that, good out of it, bad out of it, it is what it is, it happened, can't change what happened, and let's not go the other way. We have to make up for it and change the environment so it never happens again. Just get on with the job.
Yeah.
Really.
I knew you'd know that answer, but it's the only way you can go forward with it, really. And you look at the players there and everything that they're doing, I think it's going to be a really exciting time. And you can use it as a story of like, imagine when or if it is turned around.
Yeah.
And it can be.
Yeah.
Like imagine like that, like that's the amazing case of like the biggest change of an event if you can come back from something like that.
The more I'm work in elite sport, I have I believe winning, particularly the gold medal, the grand final, what we are getting when we get that is a momentary relief from the striving, the wanting, the needing, and all of the stories that I need that grand final to be validated, to have my career validated. I need to win this match to prove that I'm worthy. I need this to please my family and friends who have, sacrificed so much. So we think that we're striving for this thing because it's the ultimate achievement and ultimate joy, but really it's just giving us a relief from all of this stuff we've attached to it. And it's a really nice lesson for people, all humans, that when we think we need that holiday, we need that new house, we need that new car, it's because of a feeling we're seeking. I want to feel for a moment calm. I want to feel for a moment, like I'm worthy. I want to feel this thing. Those feelings are all within us. Every single athlete can get the self-worth and the relief from the needing and the relief from the running. They can get that by doing the internal work. It doesn't have to only come when they win a grand final or only come when they get an Olympic medal. And so I think one of the biggest challenges for athletes is to de-attach to these things that they're striving for so that they can get onto the job in a really balanced, productive, healthy way.
So funny, last year we spoke to Nat Fife about like his brown load, and this is exactly what he was saying about like you think that you have it, it ends up being just filling a void for a tiny bit. And even going back and maybe rounding out what we've even been talking about today with success and all these bits and pieces, like sometimes is it good winning a grand final? Is it bad winning a grand final? Who knows? Like the guys, the Swans guys, right, that what they've been through in this period of losing in those games, right now it sucks, but post-football, that might have actually taught them the biggest lessons and to go and start their families. And
story,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
Like we just don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think part of what I'm really, through this podcast, want people to hear through what we've shared today is that, if they go under the ice bars and the breath work and the, everything else and really tap into what am I running towards because I'm scared I'm not going to get it? What am I running away from because I don't want to get that failure or I don't want to get that judgment? And just accept that I can't control all of this and come back into this gratitude and presence in the moment of what can I just do right here, right now? And I've got everything I need and just be here in this moment, meet this moment. I think my busyness, when I said about that, oh my God, the kids saying take intentional rest, a lot of my busyness comes from the narratives and the I must and I should and I have to, not actually just what's required in that moment. So I think the athletes, if they can get into that space, then what happened to them last year is just part of the journey of that.
Love it. Love it. What's your plans this year? What are you doing? Are you working just same like Swannies?
Yeah, doing some work with the Swans.
I was with the Giants, right?
Yes. Oh, as in since you're a player?
No.
Right. I thought you were going to say, I'm like the guru at the GWS.
No, definitely not. No.
Yes, I know that because I asked Leon Cameron what would he have given you in a stop-start key.
What did he say, Big Leaf?
He said Dyl had a lot of spunk to him. He's actually a really good player who just could never get on the track. Poor guy.
Leon. He
constantly injured.
I really like that. You know what? I don't think this has any relevance to anything. I don't think there's even any hidden message in it. But I remember going up to Giants and just being there and just really appreciating the opportunity. And I remember him just saying to me, he goes, mate, you're up here, have fun. He goes, sometimes you get picked, sometimes you won't, sometimes you'll be in good form, sometimes you won't. And he's like, but just have some fun. And I was like, sweet,
That's
I can
so
do that.
Good, isn't it?
I was like, yeah, cool. He goes, even if you're playing well, I still might not play you, but you're here. I was like, yeah, thanks for the honesty. Like, that's great. Like,
that is great, isn't it?
He's like, you're not here to be a superstar. And I was like, no, I'm gathering that. I just got delisted. But because you're just here to like help everyone out, do your thing. And I was like, oh, sweet.
How many games did you end up playing for them?
A couple.
Yeah. Like, did you get a couple?
Two. Yeah.
But you were injured, he said.
No, it was good. It was a great time and great club. And I wouldn't be blaming injuries, but it was a good list, good people, everything. And made two games. Like if I had played 100, what would I be doing what I'm doing now? Probably not.
That's right. Like, if you had that grand final win or you had that Olympic medal, does it change what you're doing now? Does it? No.
No. So Swannies?
Oh, Swannies?
Yeah. Like what happens with the Olympic stuff now to that?
Well, it's the start of a 4-year cycle.
Jesus.
So I am not involved in the start of that cycle yet. Maybe that will change, but it is mind-blowing what Olympic athletes go through. Like I cannot, for them and their families to now start again, I can't possibly imagine it.
Families get off the hook, don't they? They don't have to go to like events every week. They just got one every 4 years.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
Pretty
can
chill.
just feel... do you know what I'm picturing when you say that? All the wives of those Kookaburras players with little babies. I
apologise to them. That was a joke.
Did you hear about the Kookaburra who cut off his finger to go to the Olympics? Did we share that story?
No. It's impressive.
I know. Do we have time to tell that story? Like talking about sacrifice and what you do to get to the Olympics.
Did he tear his tendon in his finger?
No.
Okay, I'll let you tell the story before I just start asking questions.
We're about to go on the plane on like Monday, and it's sort of Friday, and the boys, the Kookaburra boys, were playing the non-selected players effectively, and
I've been there.
As the non-selected pumped them.
That always happens.
I know. I know.
They've got nothing to lose.
I know, but that is the whole thing about mindset, right? So we just write it off like nothing to lose. No, we should pay attention to that. Anyhow, that's a story. That's a lesson for another day. So midway through the game, the guy comes, off. He's degloved his finger. So the stick has hit his finger against the stick, and so it's split open around the top of his finger. So the top of his fingers are sort of hanging off. And literally about to go to the Olympics. So you're like, well, that's game over. And so he goes off in an ambulance, goes to the hospital, calls in. This happened to him before either the last Olympics, last Commonwealth Games, but it was his cheekbone. Calls the surgeon that fixed him up then. Surgeon comes in, as all good surgeons. Ta-da, I've got it. We'll get you there. But we need to amputate the finger, like half the finger, because for it to heal would take sort of 6 months. So do you want to amputate it? And he's like, yes. So he amputates a finger and then goes off to the Olympics.
Amazing.
So that's a sacrifice. So as you say, the families
and I'm
have
not
got
taking
it
that
easy.
lightly. No,
I know you were joking.
I wish we could have taken that out, but now there was such a good story off the back of it. It's
because all I can imagine,
so now I have to
his
sort of
wife
keep
is
it in.
there with his new baby, and he's getting his finger amputated.
Yeah, I'm an arsehole. I apologise to him and his family. That's really shit by me.
Can you imagine the pressure of going?
No, I think we move on from it because
I just want to say, imagine the pressure. When we heard, the boxer who was like apologising to Australia.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like just you're there, you're in the arena. Like the pressure of that is next level.
And we had Nina Kennedy on the pod last year as well, and what she did was unbelievable and it's outstanding. But I think the hardest thing for athletes is like, especially in the athletics and track and field and anything in the Olympic sport, is you've got that one period to actually not just fulfill a dream and win a medal, but to like capitalize on your sport.
Yeah.
And like some people can really set themselves up for sponsorship deals and financially set themselves up whereby maybe their sport wasn't as, I suppose, being able to actually support them the way that they did prior to that. So it's hard when you do hear those stories.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
very, I think, a lot of luck comes into it as well at the end of the day.
I mean, we've got to the end of this podcast. We haven't even talked about living in the village.
How was living in the village? On the cardboard beds?
No, so I got to stay in a hotel out of the village.
Oh, nice.
But you're in the village all day. It's the most extreme environment. You have taken the best of the best in the world and you put them in this, when they say village, it's like a village. It's like, out in places like Point Cook where they make a little community, we just pop up like houses and parks and shops and
Like a little COVID centre of just athletes.
yeah, there's tattoo artists and hairdressers but
Oh, really? They got those shops and stuff as well.
yeah, but also, which is weird, you don't pay for anything. So it's just like you are in this little really weird world with the best of the best. And, as a middle-aged female, not that female's got anything to do, a middle-aged, unfit, unelite person, it's crazy to walk around and see these. It's like they're not human.
Yeah. If there's something you want someone to take into the year, like on a last call, and just recapping sort of what we've spoken about today with the stop-start keeps and, holding ourselves to account, like trying to reach goals, but also don't be too hard on ourselves if they're not there. Is there any other messages you'd give out to 2025 for people trying to set themselves up for a good, sustainable year?
Well, I think you've given the best message around that foundation base, which is like your sleep, your food, for the purpose of having a strong foundation, not for the purpose of, looking great or beating someone's,
bench press or
running the marathon. No, I'm doing it for other reasons. I would just like to add into that list of fundamentals is, starting to really try and get that awareness around what's going on for me and take some time to really explore when I'm responding to stress, to more consciously respond to stress. So going into the situation, seeing it, what's happening here, what am I feeling, what's the benefit of what's happening for me, what can I control, what can't I control, like actually bringing more awareness around that. It's like we want to skip that part because that part's not very sexy, that part's, not very concrete. I can't just know an instruction like get in an ice bath, stay for 3 minutes. So we just ignore that piece and want to get into like things that I can measure, and we can't measure that awareness piece and sitting in discomfort and allowing ourselves to be in there, giving it space. And we're struggling. And it distresses me to think that we're just going to roll into another 2025 with all these people who have not yet really even recovered from 2024. Did you see what's the tennis player that was married to Ty Vickery?
Yes.
And
I don't know her name, but I just saw the divorce thing. Yeah, that was quite strange.
Did you see her?
Strange real.
But in the comments, she was like, 2024, goodbye to 2024, like, don't want a repeat of that. And she's given it like a star rating of 1. And I'm like, yeah, so many people would have given 2024 a star rating of 1. For all different reasons. And, we are in positions where we're exposed, you're exposed, I'm exposed to constant information around how to do better, feel better, understand our feelings, get things right. But for the most people, they're not hearing that on a daily basis and they're struggling. And
I would say, though, now more than ever, it's accessible. Like you think about all
Absolutely.
the podcast, like if
so accessible.
If you do want to expose yourself to that, you can now.
So accessible.
Like there's people out there that when we were working at footy clubs years ago, that was the only place you could get that information. Now all those people have their own shows. I have like my brother-in-law knows more about anything than me, and I'm like, fuck, I did this for 8 years. Like
I agree with that. I'm encouraging people to not just go to the sexy pieces of that. Well, Ned Brockman just ran, 7 million marathons. Like, that's great, but let's wind it back. How about, like, you just try and take little mini breaks in your day to pause, check in. What am I feeling? Where's that showing up? Is it in my stomach? Is it my shoulders? Do I need to take a deeper breath? What story am I telling about the project that I'm working on? Can I shift that project? How's this situation working for me right now? How can I decharge it? What am I striving for? I'm running away. Asking all this stuff is not very sexy. And
it's fucking hard.
Sitting in all of that stuff, but then listening to the podcast and going and having a sauna. I have the sauna. I have a sauna. They're great. But I want people to know that we have to do something about this struggle. Like we would update our iPhone, we've got to update the software. Got to actually like learn stuff and update it a little bit.
100. Can we catch back up this year, you reckon?
Okay, we have to. Like, Mon, you are playing next year.
Yeah. That
question. Can we catch up, do you reckon? And me saying, yeah. And then we're going to go,
No, we'll link.
We
You haven't
didn't
even.
escape
I didn't want
room
to
together.
out you like this.
What do you mean?
You haven't even met Max yet.
Oh, fuck. Can you? I can't believe you're going to finish a podcast on that. I'm coming to his 21st, so.
Yeah, that's okay. That'll probably. That's not too far away. Nah, we're gonna do a dinner.
I'm waiting till you got 2.
Yeah.
No, that's not going to happen.
No.
I'm meeting Max because Max deserves to be met
Yeah.
on his own right.
Yeah. No, I we'll take this offline. But
Okay, your goals, your thing, what you doing?
to be honest, I don't really have any goals. I just want to keep enjoying life. Like this isn't it's not a sort of polished ending here to the show, but like I just want to be like a plastic bag in the wind. Just go where it takes me and just enjoy it. Enjoy the ride. Control what I can. Try not to control what I don't try and control what I can't. And spend as much time with my family as I can. Do what gives me energy. Fill up my camera roll with cool stuff and look after myself.
And be super kind to yourself if you don't do any of that.
Yes, that's a hard part, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. New bub.
Yeah, May. So it's gonna be a busy boy.
Yeah. Keep an eye on those values and where it's showing out, and I will too. And just let's go try.
Onward and upward. Illy.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know that one.
I love you.
I know.
Yeah. Let's you say it back.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I love you too, Dyl.
Thank you very much.
I love you too.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you as always. Hope you enjoyed it.